I'm a big fan of Samsung phones, from their Ultras to their Folds, and now even their Trifolds. But one of those main reasons I love Samsung phones is One UI. I remember a few years ago when I gave One UI a try, I kind of hated it. And this was way back in those Galaxy S10 days. But then when I started to really enjoy this was on the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and I just kind of got it. And this year I've spent way more time with Samsung phones than usual. First off with the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and then swapping over to the Z Fold 7. And because I've spent so much time with these phones, I think that now One UI might be my favorite Android OS. Don't get me wrong, Pixel has a nice, clean, kind of stock Android finish about it, but One UI gives you a little bit more to play with. You can customize it a bit deeper, and it's like having a lot of launchers in one. Basically, it's One UI, but it feels like it has Launch Air and Nova and Pixel kind of built into it with how much you can customize it. I'm Paul, and I'm going to show you a couple of features with inside One UI that you might not know about, or are just like locked away in the depths of One UI, because there is a lot to learn here. Let me start with home screen, and I love a minimal, non-distracting home screen, so I try and keep it as clean as possible. And One UI lets me keep it really nice and clean, and you'll notice on my setup here, what I have is just 2 pages of apps, and I feel like that these apps give me everything that I might need. It's not cluttered, it's nice and simple, and you'll notice as well that there's no app names on this to try and keep it as clean as possible. And you can do this all just in the main home screen settings here. So what I did was, first off, I hid my app labels, then changed the layout to be 4:6 on that home grid and moved it to 5 columns. And this way I was able to get everything, all of my apps just down in the center. And one thing that I have liked in the introduction of One UI recently is widget stacks. This stops you having 4 or 5 separate widgets wrecking that clean vibe of the home screen. So what you do here is long press on that home screen and add a widget, but then inside that widget you can actually do a widget stack, and you can add up to 7 in here, and you can just swipe through whatever you want to see. The weather widget looks great because it is transparent, there's no background, and it kind of just blends into that clean home screen. Annoyingly, the rest of the widgets though have this background, and it looks fine, but it does kind of ruin that nice, clean, minimalist kind of feel of that home screen. So if there is a way to have these other widgets transparent that I don't know about, can you let me know in the comments, please? Because I kind of just want that transparent widget on everything, not just the weather app. Another thing that I want to mention about the home screen is that you can actually save multiple different home screens thanks to Good Lock. To save these home screens, you need to go into Home Up, and then what you'll see is an option called Backup and Restore, and then inside of here you can have up to 20 different home screens saved, so you can just restore them whenever you want, which I think is actually pretty cool because it means you can mess around with everything, and if you don't like it, you can easily go back to what you had beforehand, and it's just a tap, so it's nice and simple. When you back up the home screen, it will show you that your wallpaper is backed up as well, but it isn't. You're going to have to go back in and add that wallpaper, so I'm not quite sure why it shows you that it is saved when it doesn't. And annoyingly, you can't have this saved across devices, so there's no cloud storage for this, even though it looks like there is because of that little cloud icon, but there isn't. You can only save them to your local device, but still, I think being able to save those home screens back in Good Lock, I think is pretty cool. Let me give you another tip now for the bigger phones like the Ultras and the Folds. When it comes to gestures, you only have a couple, so swipe up to go home, swipe up to hold and go to your recent apps, and then the swipe from left and right to go back from whatever app you are on. But there is a one-handed mode plus on One UI that gives you so many gestures that you kind of don't know what to do with. Basically, you can have different actions for diagonal up on either side and diagonal down on either side, meaning you never really have to wiggle your phone around to get to certain gestures with big phones anymore. On the right hand side, I have my modes set like do not disturb or bedtime, and then one gesture to open quick panel settings, which saves me from reaching to the top of the phone. But then on the same side, as well as those short swipes, you can have long swipes that give you different sort of actions that come with those gestures. So for example, you can open your most recent apps in this list view, and something like quick tools that gives you quick panel settings much easier, and you can even start a split screen without having to do it like the classic old type of way. I feel like one-handed plus is one of those cheat codes that not many people know about in One UI, and it comes in really handy when you have big phones, so like an Ultra for example, but it comes in even more handy when you have a Fold, because it means you can just do a lot more with those swipes and you have a little bit more space to play with as well. Actually, talking of folds, this is a quick good one because your phone can actually do different actions based on whether your phone is open or closed. So I have auto rotate turned on for when the hinge is fully open, and then have auto rotate off when the phone is closed again. And it's pretty simple because in routines, you just create a new one and select folding status and then completely open. And then you need to select screen orientation and set that to auto rotate. And then you just need to make sure that you have when that routine ends set to on, so the auto rotate will turn itself off when the phone is closed again. And this just saves you a little bit of time having to swipe down and turn auto rotate on and off every single time. One of the best things about One UI is how you get into split screen, and not the default way because that just takes far too long. Swiping up, then tapping split screen, and then the app that you want to split screen with, I feel like just takes too long. And I already showed you that you can do a side swipe action to open split screen. But if you enable 2-finger swipe up in the advanced settings and then go onto multi-window, you can just simply swipe up with those 2 fingers and jump straight into a split screen. And I don't even know why this is hidden, because this is one of those gestures that should just be on by default, because this is so much easier getting into split screen, and I found myself doing it a lot more thanks to just that 2 swipe up. One thing I miss about Pixels when I come back to the S25 Ultra is the fact that I can open up Google Wallet with the double tap of the power button. It'll use my face to unlock it, and then I'm good to tap and go, and the payment is sorted. I know you can add double tap to open wallet to Samsung phones, but then I miss it for the camera, and then I have to use my fingerprint to pay when I'm out, and it just takes too long. But with Routines Plus, you can add a double press of the volume down button to open Google Wallet, and then use Face Unlock to unlock your phone, activate your wallet, and you can do this all in one action, and this makes it way easier having to use payments. My next one is to use BIXBY, and I know BIXBY is not very good, and how many people really use BIXBY? And obviously don't change out Gemini for BIXBY here, but there is something you can do which is quite cool with BIXBY. You can use BIXBY voice commands to dismiss certain things, like if you have a timer, you can just say dismiss timer or restart. And this is the same for the alarms. You can dismiss alarms, or you can set it to snooze just by saying a few words. And then something similar with calls, because you can say reject call if you don't want to answer it, or answer phone, which will then put this on to speaker mode, which I think is really handy. You need to go into BIXBY settings and talk to BIXBY without wake up and turn this one on. And even if you set timers or alarms using Gemini, you can still dismiss them with BIXBY. So this is why I really like One UI, but there's still some more stuff that I can tell you here. So let me give you some quick fire changes that you can do with inside One UI to make your Galaxy maybe just a little bit better. Inside Good Lock, you can change your animation speeds of opening and closing apps from something really slow to like rocket fast speed. And it saves you having to go into developer settings and turn this on. You can even remove the dock if you stay inside Home Up, and this gives your home screen just a bit of a cleaner, more minimalist look. And I didn't even know that you could do this until I was playing around for this video. One of my favorite Home Up tricks is enabling Finder access for a swipe down, so you can search all of your apps pretty easily, and you can even search your settings without having to go into the settings app. And staying inside of Home Up, you can even change the task changes. So when you swipe up at the moment, you get the classic kind of cards in a row sort of look, but you can swap this to a few different things. You can swap it to a tilt stack, grid, vertical list, or slim list. Now, I think grid looks pretty cool here. I'm not about the slim list, but I like that you can change it. And did you know that you can even add lighting effects for every time you get a notification? So you can actually add a load of different edge lightings to your phone, and you can customize these like quite a bit, from color to shape to how long they last. I mean, this one is not necessarily for me, but I know that some people might quite like a glittery notification every time they get a text. And here's one for you, because I know a lot of people complain about shutter lag on the S25 Ultra. So when you go into camera at the moment and you take a picture, what it does is it takes the picture when you let go of that kind of shutter button. But you can change this by going into Camera Assistant, and then you'll see an option here that says Quick Tap Shutter. You can see it just over here. When you turn Quick Tap Shutter on, that will now take a picture immediately when you press the shutter button, instead of having to wait until you release the shutter button. So it's not huge, but this does help a little bit with that shutter lag. And this is why I love One UI, because what you can do is you can spend hours playing around with all the settings and making your phone feel a little bit more unique to you. And you can get completely lost in Good Lock. Like, you can get to a point where you can set a DIY home screen, and I've got my dog all over that. I mean, it doesn't look great, but I mean, you can do it if you want. You can go a little bit crazy. There are so many customization options inside One UI where if I was to show you them all, this video would be as long as a movie. So hopefully I've shown you a few things about One UI that you might not have known, and I'm sure there are things within One UI customization options that you use that I have no idea about. Like, there is so much to learn that I just don't think anyone can know everything. So if there is a customization option that you use, whether it be in Good Lock or just in the normal settings, put it in the comments below and kind of like teach everybody, let everybody know how exciting One UI can actually be. Now, before you head off, if you can subscribe to the channel before you go, I'd really appreciate it. Really cool. And if you do that, then I will see you in the next video.